Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Tuesday Night Live podcast from the range with your host, John G. Johnson. Hello. Welcome to Tuesday Night Live at the range. My name is John Johnson. I'm the owner and operator of a firearms training facility in beautiful Cape Coral, Florida, who specializes in you. This Tuesday Night Live was designed to educate, motivate, and entertain, and I hope I give you all three. If you like what you get here, make sure that you hit that bell icon and that subscribe button, because we do this every Tuesday night at 6 p.m., and we've been doing it for the last almost 3 years now, and we come up with topics each week that we can issue to you to help you be more confident with your pistol. Tonight is a great thing because it's going to give you the fast fixes for a better group. I always do this to myself. I put these little tangy words together. I'm going to screw that up more than once tonight. But fast fixes for better group. That's what tonight's all about. And I'm going to give you some of the things I would recommend we look at that I see people fail at on a regular basis. But before we do that, we got to pay some bills. So I want to tell you guys about our ebooks. The ebooks are on our website. There'll be a link down below in the descriptions. If you have not got one of our free ebooks, I want to give you one for free. All you have to do is pick the book you want and then put it in your cart. And then from there, when you're at checkout, go ahead and put free book at checkout, and it is yours for free. Now, if you want to support the channel a little bit, what you can do is add a few more books into your cart. Those books are on sale at this point in time for $2.99. And if you put a few more in the cart, it will support my family-owned business. It'll support my family as well. And we would truly, truly appreciate it. So if you have an opportunity, do go down, shop our ebooks, and find the one you think you're having problems with. These books are about grip and stance and trigger control and sight picture and sight alignment, and grip, and they give you everything you need all in one thing. So it's all about the grip. It's all about trigger. It's all about sight picture. It's all about stance. It just gives you the education you need to understand why that implement is so important and why we made a book about it. So there we go on that. And those will be in the description down below. And let's remove that. Go back to me. Well, how has your week gone so far? I know it's only Tuesday, but it is here. If you're on tonight and you're in watching this, go ahead and comment. Let us know where you're from and what's going on. We would appreciate any comments you have this evening. We would say thank you for those as well. Let's go ahead and start the presentation in regards to Phil, how you doing? Good to hear from you, buddy. If you're tired of shooting wide groups at the range and not knowing why, you're not alone. The good news is that you don't have to start from scratch. You can physically figure things out by what you listen to today. Whether you've been shooting an awful long time or you're new to shooting, these fast fixes for better groups are simple and proven technique to make you a better shooter. No matter what we do, guys, at the range, we have to identify what's causing the majority of the problems. If you've been on these lives, you've heard about the masterclass, you've heard about any of our training stuff, we always talk about the identification of the problem is the easiest thing. Once we realize what we're doing wrong, we can fix it. There is no gimmick, there is no hack. It's just real fixes that work. So you just got to understand that I'm going to give you what I think you need to work on. And if you want to let us know by commenting and saying, hey, this is what I'm having problems with, I'll be able to answer some of your questions this evening after we get done with the presentation. So there's 10 of these tonight. These are 10 fast fixes for better groups. And very quickly, you start figuring out right off the bat that grip consistency is so important for us. And the lack of consistency is what causes most of our challenges that we have at the range. When you're reestablishing your grip each time, it's called milking. And when you milk a firearm, you're not in control of it. If you get a solid grip, being high on the tang, 2 thumbs forward, and really keeping the back strap and support your other hand supporting your non-dominant hand and supporting, get a good solid grip on the firearm, you should not have to open and close your grip through the 5 shots. We should be able to keep control of this weapon through the 5 shots without it moving or unsettling during the shot. Why a consistent grip matters is because it helps us with recoil management. And with recoil management in control, it will work for your consistent groups. We have to keep the weapon level enough and straight enough that we don't have any bobbling in the gun when we're shooting. And this is very common for students who put multiple rounds over 5 in a magazine. Our job is to be accurate with every round that's in the magazine. And the less rounds we have in the magazine, the more accurate we can become with the pistol. You do not need to prove your masculinity or your mochibo by putting all these rounds in the gun and bang, 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 bang without any control. So realize that you need to slow down. Number 2 is we need to work on a good sight focus. Front sight focus is so important for us because what it allows us to do is to visualize that front post consistently before you cut the shot. What tends to happen is you lose some focus while you're shooting. So that's when you're at the range and you've got 3 that go exactly where they go, and you got that flyer to the left and that flyer down below. Those are losing our sight consistent. We don't have our sight where it needs to be. It's the gun's either at an angle or it's off the right, off the left, because you are not only fighting your sight system, but you are fighting your grip. So those two together will improve your accuracy triple fold if you're able to get control of the grip and control of a front post focus. The front post focus is so important because this is most why you miss shots, because you're not focusing and you're having target drift or front post focus drift, and that's causing the impact of the bullet to be all over the place. A secondary thing, tip wise, is to make sure you have a consistent point of aim, because without the consistent point of aim, it's almost impossible to know if you're doing it right or wrong, because you are not focusing on the same point on the target each time. That's why we always recommend a 6 o'clock hold, so you'll be able to see what you're shooting through. And number 3 would be a good trigger press back to the rear. Now, we cannot focus, we cannot do anything without having these 3 things in any kind of shooting system. I know I sound like a broken record, but at the end of it, these 3 things are going to give us the most accuracy we can when we're working on a slow trigger press straight to the rear, not to the left, not to the right, getting the proper grip, getting a sight front focus, and then getting that trigger straight back. We are not going to manipulate the pistol too much, and it's going to stay in a consistent levelability. And I always tell you guys, level pistol will shoot level if you do not pull it off. And as you pull it off, it becomes, that's when you get those high, lows, rights, and lefts that are so challenging for most students. Number 4 is a solid follow through. And this solid follow through is something that we need to keep our brain about, because if we are not behind the pistol consistently, in other words, if we're dipping our head or we're not using both eyes open and we close in one eye, we're killing our field of view, which is causing the aspect of the target to be off by just a little bit. So follow through needs to have a good solid grip out in front of you. Let the round cut, let the next round cut, let the third round cut, keeping the weapon as level as we can, 4th and 5th. Then wait just a second or two, then take your hand down and see what the impact is. If you start trusting your sight system, you will become a better shooter, because we don't need to look if we know we're going to impact where we need to be. We just know the bullet's going to go where we're telling it to go. And this is a common problem for most students, because once I shoot and take my head up above the pistol, I'm changing the whole angle. I'm losing my grip. I'm losing my focus. I'm not following through on the front sight post. I'm just doing all kinds of stuff that cause me not to have tight grips. The whole idea of this video is to figure out why you're not having tight grips. And these 4 things are one of the majority of what students are doing to cause themselves some inaccuracy problems. Number 5 is working on a dry fire before you shoot, and then each time you pick the pistol up, do some dry firing before you do any live firing. This is the ultimate hack for most students. Now, you've got to do the dry firing properly, right? In the masterclass, guys, all the students who have done the masterclass, one of the biggest things they found out that increased their accuracy the most is being able to understand trigger travel. And the only way to understand trigger travel is to get that trigger back in a dry firing mode. Because technically the monster inside of us is already fighting us with recoil management anyways. It's freaking out with the noise, it's freaking out with the recoil, our grip isn't right, or anything else like that. And there becomes our issue. So we dry fire, we actually confuse our body and our brain, because every time you really touch the pistol, if you really think about it, it goes bang and recoil. So we get those internal flinches that we really don't want, but it's just natural for us to flinch up when the weapon fires. So the more dry firing we do, the better we're going to be. Now, I think dry firing at home is okay, but I think dry firing at the range while you're doing your drills is probably a better solution. Dry fire, give me five, give me 5 live and 5 dead, 5 live, 5 dead, and you'll get to understand that trigger press to a science. So when you start having any inaccuracies, you can identify them very quickly. Reinforcing good mechanics without recoil. So when you reset mentally and physically, it kind of helps you tremendously, because now the brain doesn't know. The monster inside of us doesn't know, oh my God, he's touched the pistol. Is it going to go recoil? It doesn't. And they go, oh shit. So every time he touches this gun, it doesn't go bang. There are some times when it doesn't go bang and it does go bang. So then it's confusion for the bad guy inside of us. And we don't have that flinching problem as much as we would have it if we just shot without dry firing. I always use dry firing as one of those things that if done right, will increase your accuracy fold, and it's cheap. It costs you nothing. Now, on my YouTube channel, there are many videos on dry firing, and there are a couple different stages of dry firing that you can try out and do. But remember, we need to hold the gun properly, squeeze it properly, just like it has rounds in it. So we're not going to be lackadaisious and just run this dry firing, just click, 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 click. We need to run it like it's going to bang, it's going to shoot. And that'll help us more often than just doing some crappy dry firing that gets you nothing out of it. So dry firing is a very, very good thing that will help you tremendously. The next one I would give you, and I see this an awful lot, is you need to slow down. You need to stop shooting so fast. You have the ability to take your time at the range. Our range were $25 an hour. You can shoot 50 rounds if you load the magazine 15 rounds at a time, and you could do 2 magazines, be it 30 rounds, and only have 20 left, and only been here 10 minutes or less. Or how about we put 5 rounds in a time? We get 10 strings of 5 rounds at a time. And now we're going to get more out of that than we are going to get out of 3.5 magazines and 50 rounds gone. I think you learn more from the first round fired than you do the 6th, 8th, 10th, 12th, and 15th. I think I could get anybody to control. I think anybody can control the firearm to 5 rounds. I think most people have a multiple different things that go wrong after the 5th round. You may have grip inconsistency. You may have front sight focus problems. You could have a bad trigger press that's getting worse and worse as you pull the trigger. Your follow through may change a little bit. And those are the things that we need to really, really slow down on. Because the more we take our time shooting, the more we're going to get out of every bullet than when we go. You guys have proven it. You've been to the range. You put 15 rounds. Good evening, Ken Richards. Thank you very much for being here. I appreciate you very much. You have done this before. You've been to the range. You've been the guys. You have been the people who have put 15 rounds because the magazine takes 15 rounds, and you shot 15 rounds. If you've been doing any of my training things, or you've been listening to my training classes, you see how much better you are when you shoot a low round count drill versus shooting a high capacity magazine. You lose grip, you lose focus, you lose the challenge, and it becomes more of a wasted endeavor at the range, a wasting of ammo, wasting of time, because you're really not getting anything out of it. And that becomes on you. You know what you need to do. You just need to do it and stop getting into the fact that I need to shoot as many rounds as I can in this hour. Why? You don't need to. You don't need to, because what's the most important round in the gun? The first round. You would be better off taking 50 rounds and put one shot in a magazine at a time. Take 2 magazines, put 2 rounds in one round in another, and just go to slide lock each time. Take a magazine out, put a magazine in, rack it back, shoot it again. One-shot drills are a great drill. They give you focus. They give you follow through. They give you proper grip. They give you focus on that sight picture. They give you consistency. And that's what we need. We need the consistency. What we're building, guys, is a muscle memory. If you don't have the proper muscle memory, your focus is gone. Think about driving. Think about driving your car. Everyone drove today somewhere, if you think about it. And I want you to tell me, how much thinking did you do when you drove to work this morning? You're on a pretty much muscle memory. You don't really have to think about, okay, here comes the stoplight. I've got to touch the brake now and slow down enough that I don't hit the car in front of me. You almost do it instantly because you have the muscle memory and you remember from last time and the time before and the time before and the time before that you just built a system that you can drive that car without really even focusing. Well, that's what shooting has to be for us. We have to build that muscle memory, build that system to make you a better, consistent, and accurate student. And it takes a lot of different stuff, but we got to understand what's causing the inaccuracies to fix those and then improve on the products that are going to make you more accurate. All right. Number 7 is checking your stance. I think this happens an awful lot where people start leaning backwards. They get this big gap in their back, or they're got 1 foot forward and 1 foot back, or they have some kind of staggered stance, or they're just not standing properly. They're not getting that whole control that they need. They may be standing flat-footed or maybe on their heels. We need to focus on being on our toes. We want really that nose over the toes and lean into the gun enough that our stance is more of an athletic stance. The reason why we focus so much on the athletic stance, and that athletic stance basically is feet shoulder width apart, bouncing on your knees, leaning forward just a little bit, because we need to have mobility and we want to have those knees slightly bent, shoulders forward, belly button towards target, give you that aggressive posture. And why? It's going to give you stability. You're not going to have a wobbly stance. If you have a wobbly stance, you're going to have a muzzle wobble and your groups will be wide. So we want to be as stationary as possible without being stiff-legged, because we want to be able to move when we're supposed to move. And we want to stay still when we need to stay still. When we do a tactical class, these guys have to move. We need to be very careful that we're not crossing our legs, but we're able to slide our feet to stay contacted to the ground as much as possible to give us the stability we need. So checking your stance is so important, because you lose it just like you use your grip or you lose your front sight focus or you get a little carried away on the trigger or you don't have the proper follow through. These are all things that happen when you get the foundation wrong. And that's kind of why that stance is so important for us. There's a couple things we can do to figure out what we're doing on a target. I've talked to you many times before of getting your range kit set. And what does that mean, range kit set? That means the stuff you really need. In the masterclass, we have all the students use our targets. And what they do is they print our targets, and I tell them to get magic markers. And I would recommend you find yourself a cheap set of markers. They're worth their weight in gold at the range. Get your red marker, get your green marker, get you a blue marker, and get you any colors you want, really, guys. And then when you're doing drills 5 rounds at a time, you can go in and circle the first 5 rounds that you shot. Then you shoot your second string of 5. You're going to mark that with a different color marker. And then so on and so forth until you're done with that training. I would recommend you do all your drills somewhere between 20 to 25 rounds per drill. I think 20 is good. And then what you want to do is give yourself a point system, 1 point for every hit that's supposed to be in the target. And then go ahead and mark your misses. And then start making yourself some kind of folder that you can start identifying what you're doing wrong. And the cool thing is, as we lay this out, you'll start seeing first shot's good, second shot's good, third shot's good, fourth, I got a little fatigued, fifth, I just got excited to pull the shit out of the trigger. And this is the things that we can start identifying so we know we maybe want to start taking our time. And what tends to happen is why that happens is because you're giving that firearm such a death grip that you lose your power. You start becoming fatigued. And when you start becoming fatigued with the firearm, that's when we start getting those looser grip and that start milking and the gun starts, moving around and and it causes a lot of stuff. And you see this a lot in students, especially when they're shooting high capacity or shooting a lot of rounds. Now, I say the magic round count at the range for any person should be 100 rounds or less. And you're going to get more out of that. The only thing you get out of shooting 300 rounds at a range is an empty wallet and bad habits. Empty wallet and bad habits. That's why most of our tactical classes or our training classes, it's not about bullseyes in those classes, but we still stop at 200 rounds. I think students are fatigued at that point in time. So when you go to a TAC class and you're there for 3 days and you're putting 650, 700 rounds downrange, what are you getting out of that at that point in time? Your accuracy is weighing an awful lot. The guys charge a lot of money for those classes, and I'm sure some people think they're worth it, but I think that we need to get that muscle memory down, and consistently doing it on a regular basis is going to be more important than getting to some guru guy who's doing a TAC class for 3 days, and you technically are just along for the ride at that point in time. They're filling their wallets. They're not filling the classes, in my opinion. You could get a lot of training done with 200 rounds at a TAC class, especially 5 rounds at a time, versus 500, 600, 700 rounds on a 3-day. After the first day, your brain is so mushed The second day and the third day, you're just doing it at that point in time. So use clean, clear targets. You can actually, if you're going to use any kind of C targets, I recommend you could do shoot and seize if you want to, but you don't need to spend that money, guys. You don't need to spend that money. You can go to the dollar store and get all the targets you want. I did a video a while back. I went to the dollar store, took $10, and I bought almost 1,000 targets for $10. Paper plates, 3x5 cards. I bought Post-it notes. I bought Post-it notes at the dollar store. Come in circles. They come in squares. They come in triangles. Kind of cool little things. The paper plates themselves, I was able to get multiple different color paper plates. Pretty economical. 1,000 targets that fit all in a range bag, which is an easy thing. 6-inch paper plate, 8-inch paper plates. They have plastic. They have paper. I got markers, which you can take white piece of paper, black magic marker, mark all the targets. You don't need to spend money on a glossy target. If you got a white piece of paper and you put a bullet in it, you're definitely going to be able to see it. If you mark each bullet 5 shots at a time, you are going to see every bullet. You can do exactly what you want to do there, but you can make targets any way you want to. They actually have 8.5 by 11 pieces of paper, which is a solid target. 3x5 cards, solid target. 3x5 cards folded in half, that's a target. Folded in thirds, that's another target. That's the 3x5 card drill. You do that in 3 different ways. You can do the shortest, smallest target close and further out. Just mix it up. Make range time exciting. Don't get bored with it. That kind of gives you the best of best, if that makes sense. All right, Rob Bomber, thank you very much for being here. Actually, I like shooting 3 rounds or 2 rounds in the other mag. So I do a mag change, then continue my drills, mixing up so I don't know 2 or 3 mags. Perfect. That's a great drill. That's a great thing, Bob. Way to go, buddy. What you can do if you want to really, I don't know if you can do it yourself. Someone may want to help you, but you could put a dummy round on one of those, and then you're going to see your flinching as well. So what Bob does, he puts 3 in one, 2 in another. He's doing a mag change at the counter, and then if someone loaded a dummy round in it, he'll be able to tell if he's flinching or not. That's a great drill, Bob. Like, keep that up, buddy. Rob, I'm sorry, Rob. I said Bob. Rob Bomber. Thank you, buddy. That's a great comment. I appreciate that very much. All right. You know, another good thing you can do and to challenge yourself a little bit is call your shots. That's a good time thing you can do. You can actually take a couple of the drills. You can actually lay them out. There's a couple on our website. Most of the videos. Yeah, no problem. No, Rob, that's a good one. You might have to have a buddy of yours load your magazines, unless you blindly load your mag. But you could probably feel the difference between a live round and a dummy round. But you definitely that would really challenge you. I'd like to know if you do that and tell me how it went for you, and see if you got that muzzle flinch that most people would get if they did that. You can call your shots. You can actually put up 3 different colors, 4 different colors, and call it. And then each time you shoot one, it's sort of like the command drill. You can shoot the target and then say where you think it's going to land. This trains your brain to track your sights and understand what's happening. I think it's so important that we get the concept of the barrel is below the line of sight, and that we have to understand bullet travel and sight alignment. And those two meet each other somewhere out there. In a handgun, it's somewhere between 12 and 15 feet because you think most handguns, the barrel is below the sight. And if the bullet came out of the barrel straight and the sight alignment is straight, they would never see each other. So the manufacturers knew that that bullet needs to rise into the line of sight, and then it will begin to fall again as it gets further out. So once we understand the travel of the bullet and the line of sight, that area where it crosses is considered zero, and then that's where we need to aim. Hence why we recommend 6 o'clock hold all the time, because it gives you a consistent point of aim. So when you're doing the call your shots or any of the targets that you're doing, and you have the proper consistency, and you're focusing on your front post, and the trigger press is straight back into the gun, and you've got good follow through, and you've slowed down just enough, and your stance is where it needs to be, you're going to be shooting exactly the way you need to be. And you're going to get some of these tighter groups. And then all of a sudden, bingo, bango, what do we got? We got an aha moment. And when you got an aha moment, that's going to help you understand and become a better shooter, because now you have identified what's causing 1, 2, 3 things that are causing you problems. Then we can identify them and solve them very quickly, because it isn't everything that's causing the problem. It's these little tiny things. We talk about shooting a pistol. It's not hard, but there are some challenging things we got to put together and be consistent about it, or we're going to be all over the place. And we can't adjust. I shoot low and left, so I'm going to point the pistol high and right to impact the target. That's considered Kentucky windaging. And we don't want to do that, because the day that you aim high and right in a defensive situation, you're not even aiming at the bad guy. You're putting your gun out there and focus and pray to God that you pull the trigger. Most likely you're going to, because of high stress you put yourself into. But what happens if you don't? Then all of a sudden you got this bullet flying out anywhere. And remember, that bullet flying anywhere, you're criminally, morally, and civilly responsible for it until a bullet hits the ground. And the key thing is that we don't want to do that. We want to solve our inaccuracy problems by understanding what we're doing wrong with it. All right. Number 10 here. Coming up. Number 10. What's number 10? I think we need to breathe. We need to just take our time. I think breathing has some effect at longer distances. I think more than anything, most people hold their breath when they shoot, which it doesn't cause you the problem when you're shooting your first string of 5, but it definitely causes you problem on your second string of 5, because you're heaving now to try to keep your breath, and that's going to cause a little bit of an issue. I think at 3 yards, you can hold your breath and breathe heavy. It ain't going to matter. The gun does rise and fall, but the more we can kind of keep a consistent control of the pistol, the easier it's going to be. So taking a deep breath in, releasing some of it out, you would stay more level. But I think more than anything, we just got to put it all together to make you the best you can. You don't want to hold your breath. You want to breathe naturally, especially before trigger press. Tension creeps in fast and ruins control, especially when you are kind of excited. It's funny when we do classes with students and it's a husband or wife or a woman or a man, that they're coming to me. They've never shot a pistol before in their life. So when they're there at the front door, I kind of grab a hold and, hold them and make sure that they're comfortable. We don't wait around. We get them in the back and we get them shooting as quick as we can to get the stink off, if that makes sense. But most of them have a different color to them when they leave compared to when they come. They're white as a ghost when they get here because it's just something that they're not naturally wanting. They want to do it, but they don't know what they're doing. So it gives them a little bit more challenge. But as we get further along in class, you can see the color come back into them and them start having a good time, and it becomes fun for them. And then they get kind of excited because they're able to impact the target. They're able to make the shots, and majority of the students, shoot better than most of the people been to the range all week, because obviously I'm here helping them get control of the weapon. But once they've sucked that in, and once they've got the bullseye effect, I'm not a bullseye guy, but once they get a couple rounds stacking together, once they start doing it right, and it starts making them happy, things change tremendously, and it puts them on a different level at that point in time. Read something somebody said, call shot tape. Yeah. Well, Bomber, bringing a friend always helps, cause each can help each other call shots, videotape, and give you a break between each shooting most time. I bring it, buddy. Very good, Bob. Very good, Rob. Yeah, I will tell you, if you have the ability to videotape yourself, you will learn so much from that. Because when I'm watching a student, I'm watching from behind and I'm seeing what they're doing. I'm watching the pistol. I hardly ever look and see where they're hitting. I don't really care about that. I want to see how they're controlling the weapon. And the more I see what control they're coming with the weapon, the easier it is for me to identify what I think they're doing wrong. Because a lot of students don't realize that they're milking. They don't realize that they've got a front sight focus problem. They don't realize that trigger press could be one of the issues. I mean, they're new. How would they know the follow through? That's a natural thing to want to look over the pistol and see where your impact is. They tend to slow down because I tell them to, but they don't know proper stance. They don't know any of this stuff. So the student shoots the best the very first time. And then after that, when they come back, we've got to work on them again because, if you really think about anything, right, we have to build a system because shooting, cooking, fishing, any sport is diminishing if you don't do it on a regular basis. The only difference between those is when you add adrenaline dumps or high pressure into it, it becomes somewhat of a challenge for students. You're going to fall back to your weakest training in a high defense situation. That's why we have to build muscle memory to a science for us so we can control the pistol the best we can. Because ideally, what we're looking for is clean shots and together. Even if you start applying just a few of these techniques, your groups will tighten, your frustration will drop, your confidence behind the gun will skyrocket. Shooting better isn't about shooting more. It's about doing the right things to be more consistent. And the more consistent you are, the more accurate you are. Now, guys, we have the masterclass, which is something I would highly recommend that you take advantage of. It is ability for you to work with me in 5 short weeks, you will be able to master your handgun. And what we offer you is a course-laid system that gives you a PowerPoint presentation every Monday night at 7 p.m. It gives you an ebook workbook that we're going to give you. It's going to give you the course itself. It's going to give you the videos correlated to what we're going to do that week. It's going to give you the whole system itself. You're going to get homework each week that you have to turn in for me to grade. At that point in time, if the class itself is the lowest price it's been at $89.99, but we're going to give you $5 off if you join before July 7th. And that discount code is SAVE5NOW. And this is in the links below in this course. And this will give you the ability to work with me for 5 short weeks to master your handgun in 5 short weeks and become the best shooter you can be. There is a link down below to shop our ebooks as well, and those are available for you. I want to thank you for supporting a family-owned business. I want to thank you for always being here each week, and we will go up and answer any questions you guys have. If not, we'll take off because it's Tuesday night and it's taco night. So, Rob Bomber, thank you very much. Let me see what Bob had to say here. All right. That's why I train again. Military, but I was M16 and 45. Didn't get issued. Enjoy your tacos. Yeah. Very cool. Yeah, being trained to pay, getting paid to train is important. Yeah, that's cool. Well, the live is we like these things. It kind of gives us ability to have some conversation. These things get anywhere from 200 to 400 views each week. It gives us something that we can give to you guys. Phil, thank you for being here. Kurt Richards, thank you for being here. We appreciate you each week joining us and having anything. Before we get off, I want to remind you, check out your YouTube channel. Make sure you still are subscribed to my channel. Sometimes people get unsubscribed for different reasons. I don't know why that is, but sometimes people do get unsubscribed. If you're not subscribed, please hit the subscribe button, the bell icon, and every time I upload a video, just like this one, you'll be the next to know. We are going to start Saturdays at 4 o'clock. This Saturday is the gun show. I will not be able to do it this Saturday, but we are going to start them the following Saturday back. People are asking for them, so we're going to do a Saturday. It's going to be more in a Saturday drill kind of deal. This is what you're going to do with the drill this week. This is the drill. This is the free drill target we're going to give you, and we're going to do like a little kind of education on that. I think that'll be fun. And then we're going to answer any questions that people have during the drills. It's kind of why don't you. Kurt Richards, John, I have found that I have returned to some of the basics because I thought I had great improvement. I need to master the skills, not just jump to drill. I believe that. I think we need to consistently get some stuff done. I guess my point would be take yourself to the edge as much as you can. Range time, there is some basics. We need to make sure we have it all, but we need to challenge ourselves. If we're shooting that same silhouette with the red X in the guts, and we need to focus, we need to make sure we're getting the tightest groups we can and work on that. But the grips, the stance, the trigger control, the sight picture setup, once you start focusing on one thing at a time, I think that's one of these things that people try to do it all. You can't do it all. I would tell you the best trigger press you can. This is the bonus. If I'm going to give you a bonus, this is it. You can have shitty grip. You can have a crappy stance. You can have okay trigger, okay sight picture and sight alignment. But if you got a great trigger press, you're going to be accurate. You're going to be accurate. So if you asked me, you said to me, hey, John, what's the one thing I need to master? I need to really get down to the science of it. I would tell you trigger. Work on trigger press. Work on trigger travel. Understand how far your trigger needs to come back to get to a wall that once you press past that wall, the weapon is going to fire. And that's going to help you understand the distance we need to take the slack out of to engage the trigger and keep the weapon level. And once you got that trigger pressed down, then start working on a positive grip. Then start working on other stuff. Now we start cycling in. We got a great trigger. Now let's start working on dry fire is a big deal. That's right, Rob Bomber. That dry firing makes all the difference. And dry firing at the range makes even stronger. You get 5 live and 5 dead each time, it makes almost. All right. Well, you can always send them to my phone as well if you can't get them on Kurt. If you can't get them on Facebook, you can always send them to my cell. Just do the same thing by texting them to me, and I'll get them. That way I can see them. But definitely, if you ask me, what's the one thing, the trigger to be it? And that's the thing. And I have a whole playlist. I have the masterclass playlist in my YouTube channel. What I physically have is the trigger travel videos that are great because there's multiple videos on that. Oh, coming to Florida, Kurt. Where at, buddy? Where are you coming? You got to come by. If you set it up, I'll do a class for you. I'd love to meet you. Love to meet you. Shake your hand. Let me know. We're in Cape Coral. I don't know how far you're coming. But we had Jim who came all the way from Orlando. Well, Maine. He came from Maine to Orlando and Orlando to me, which was pretty awesome. My furthest student is the Antarctic, though. That's the one guy that was the ice pusher or ice crusher. No, ice something. He drives a boat in the Antarctic for scientists, which is pretty cool. Pretty cool job there. So, oh, dude, you let me know, man. I'll be here. Don't matter what day. I'll get it set for you, Kurt. No problem, buddy. I'd love to have you, man. That'd be awesome. That'd be awesome. Well, guys, it is about an hour, and we try to keep these at an hour. I really appreciate each and every one of you each week doing this. You guys that are on here, my OGs that are on live all the time with me, thank you very much. When I first started this from the very beginning. I I don't know if I even had a person on there. I was just talking just to talk, and it just started onesies and twosies and threesies and foursies, and then all of a sudden I started getting a regular group of people, and then from there it just adds on and adds on. I'm not really concerned about it being a bunch of people. Obviously, the more we can get, the better it is. So if you have any friends or family that are shooters that want to get educated, this is a great opportunity for them. The masterclass is a great opportunity for them. The ebooks are a great opportunity. Reason why I did all that stuff is because of YouTube. Because all the YouTube people said, "Man, you got some great knowledge. I wish we could work with you. I wished I lived closer to you. I wish I did this. I wish I did that." And I said, "Well, how about I build a class that you could work with me?" And that's how the masterclass started. The beta group started in beginning of February, and those guys were all over from Washington State to Boston, Massachusetts. They turned their homework in every week. I called them, walked through their targets, figured out exactly what they were doing wrong. And you talking about a group of people that were, very novice shooters and became marksmen very quickly. Very impressed. I see the growth. And then the second group and the third group and the fourth group is coming up, and it's just getting better and better. And then once you get into the master class, you own that course that you can continuously go back to. Not only does that course have the workbook, it has the videos, and it has the written stuff. So people consume these all different ways. But I'm not a guy who can read a book and go do it. I've got to do it in my hands. But this course allows you to do it any way you want to. You can read it from the ebook. You can watch it from the videos that are in the course. You can read it from the course. You can download your videos. The videos themselves teach you how to do this week's homework. You print this week's homework, take that to your local range, and shoot this week's homework. And then take a picture of this week's homework and send it in to the course, and then I will grade it for the following week's course. And then we do, first week is all about foundation, grip and stance. Second week is all about trigger. Third week is all about speed and accuracy. And fourth week is about real world situations, shooting and moving, shooting one-handed, and everything else like that. It gives you the ability to work with me exclusively for 4 weeks, which in turn, if you really think about that, that's cheaper than a cup of coffee, per day if you think about it. And you're getting 100% of my attention when you're doing all this stuff. And I'm available through ebook, I'm email, I'm available through FaceTime, I'm available through phone calls. So it's like having your own private instructor in your pocket, ready to help you become the best shooter you can be, and maybe just once outshoot your brother-in-law. Outshoot your brother-in-law. So, and he doesn't train; he's just lucky. So you can beat him, I promise you. All right, guys. Well, that's the end of this tonight. I appreciate you being here. I will tell you 3 things. God bless, be safe, and remember, you are your first line defense. God willing, we'll see you next Tuesday. Same tape, same place, same time. Good night, guys. Love you very much.